Greetings of peace and love, everybody. My name is Ram Hotep, broadcasting on behalf of 13scienceastrology.com. I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for watching. On this particular episode, I'm going to give out a few different occult secrets when it comes to sexual health and when it comes to the science of creation and how we got here on this planet. I'm doing this video because I've been getting lately a lot of different emails and a lot of different inquiries from males and females alike, and a lot of people have been asking me questions pertaining to sexual health, just different questions. So I just want to kind of do this video to kind of just give people another level and another perspective into looking at the sexual topic. Sex is very taboo. Sex is something that is suppressed in our modern society due to religion, due to the concept of the original sin, due to the concept of Adam and Eve. In religion, they teach that Adam was given the instructions by God to not partake of certain fruits and to not partake of a certain tree, to not even go around a certain tree. And then it's later on said that Eve was basically responsible for speaking with a particular reptilian type of being or some snake. And the snake basically told her that it was okay to eat from the tree. So she ate from the tree and she told Adam about it. And Adam shared in it with her. And this is the concept of the original sin. And when they did that, they realized that they were naked and they felt guilt and shame. And this is what really creates original sin. It's the guilt and the shame. See, that's the real sin. It's not the sex. It's the guilt and the shame that you were made to feel when it comes to sexual health or sex in general. See, the real story, and they don't really teach you, it's a lot more to the Adam and Eve story. It's a lot more to that. Adam was given the instructions by a being outside of himself, which you may call God, but this particular being was a Luciferian type of being or a snake reptilian type of being. And this being was trying to control Adam, for one thing. You have to put the whole story in context. Adam and Eve were put into the enclosed garden. Where did they come from? Sounds like they were grown. Men and women. Sounds like they were over the age of 21. They were able to have sex. They definitely were over the age of 13 because they were able to have sex. So it sounds like Adam and Eve was put into this particular environment. So the first thing you got to ask yourself is, who put them there? Say it was God or Jehovah or whatever, but at the end of the day, they were put there. And then the next question you got to ask yourself is, what happened when Adam was a baby? Like, why does it just start with Adam being a grown man? The reason why it starts with Adam being a grown man is because Adam was a clone. You see, Eve, they were clones, if you want to call them that. This was a part of the experiment. And they were put into this particular garden. And these beings that put them in there knew more than them. And one thing they knew is that if they got in tune with their sexuality, they would be able to free themselves. When you start talking about enlightenment is linked into sexuality, beloved. You can't be enlightened unless you're sexually liberated, you're sexually free. So they had to suppress the sexual nature. And you notice that they used the man to do it because the man was giving instructions, because they couldn't get that over on the women at the time. They couldn't. The women that were used to be a part of that experiment were different from the original women that were on this planet. And I know I'm bouncing around here, but bear with me. Because the original women that were on this planet were more like Lilith. A lot of people have heard me talk about this. Lilith, who was supposed to be the first wife of Adam. But she represents a type of a female that was on this planet, and this particular female was sexually liberated. She knew all about her Kundalini, and not only that, but these particular types of women had no problems with having multiple sex partners or sleeping with multiple males because they knew about energy. And they knew that the womb pulls energy from the male. When you study the concept of a black hole or a portal, A portal pulls energy. That's what creates. A portal is a magnet that pulls electrical energy, and that's what creates the portal. It's the magnetism. So a woman is like a magnet. She knew the concept of her yoni or her vagina was more like a magnet. So she knew that she had attracting powers. She can get energy from different males, and she was an alchemist. Not only could she pull on this energy as a magnet, but she could take this energy and do things with it after the sexual experience. This is why when a male has sex and he busts a nut and he gives a woman all this energy, especially if he busts a nut inside of the woman, she has all this energy, she's creative, she's doing all of this stuff, she's cleaning the house up, she's making you dinner, she's just like a goddess, like a super being. She feels energized a lot of times after sex and not tired, just because she's a magnet. She pulls the energy, whereas a male, his sexual energy is direct. He gives the energy. So they knew this. So they had the first, in order for them to suppress the woman, because that was really the goal, was to suppress the woman's or the female sexual nature. They had to come through the male to do it. So they brainwashed Adam. For one thing, Adam wasn't even taught a lot of information. He didn't know anything because of the fact he was a clone. So they only told him what they wanted him to know. So they brainwashed him and told him, not to eat of this fruit. So he didn't know anything about sexuality. But Eve, she was still in tune. Even though she was in the enclosed garden, even though she was a clone and she wasn't supposed to know nothing about sex, she still had the feeling. She still knew, because obviously this snake that she was talking to was going into the serpent energy, or the Kundalini energy that rises up your spine. And this Kundalini energy can communicate to you and through you. So obviously she was communicating with her Kundalini, and she knew that she should go to the tree, get certain fruits or whatever, because that was going to turn her on sexually. See, the real life forbidden fruit was really talking about a certain aphrodisiac, a certain herb. It wasn't just a fruit, like just an apple. They like to say, oh, it was an apple. It wasn't just an apple. It wasn't just an apple. It was a certain herb that stimulated your sexual appetite and your sexual nature. So Eve, she was given that particular herb, and that stimulated her. Now, this is how the spell was cast. So then they brought in the concept of marriage, and that's what I want to talk about. Then this is the second level to it. So now you got them feeling guilty for having sex. Yeah, they might still be having sex. Yeah, they might still be in tune with their Kundalini energy, but you're feeling guilty. And this is still going on to this day. And that's the whole condition. It is the fact that as long as you can create guilt, then you can create a prison. Because every time you're guilty, that means you're going back to prison, which means when you ascend and you go to the Hall of Records, and you speak with the angels there, and they're going to say, why do you have so much guilt on your heart, my son or my daughter? And you're going to say, because I had sex with 100 different people, and I feel so guilty. I just feel so bad. And that guilt is going to make your heart heavy. And you're not going to pass through the halls of mind and be able to ascend to higher planes. You're going to come back. And that's what happens. They got us coming back based upon sex, the guilt of sex. So you hear me talk about the spell of religion, but what about the spell of sex? The spell of sex is far more deadly, far more heinous than the spell of religion. And this is what they got us up under. And the only thing it really would take is for us to liberate ourselves from this whole original sin and this guilt, and to learn how to skillfully partake in sex. You have two types of sexual experiences. Well, actually three. Some people have sex for the appetite, and that's most people, because they're horny, they want to get a good nut in, they want to get a good squirt in, or whatever it is, so they partake in sex. Then you got another group, of course, they want to conceive a child, and they partake in sex. And there's nothing wrong with these two. But there's a third reason, and a third way of why you should be partaking in sex. And the third reason is for spiritual purposes. See, when you talk about spirituality, you can't be spiritual unless you are sexually liberated, unless you're sexually enlightened. There is no spirituality. Just like I was saying before. So they have to suppress that aspect of us, the sexual nature, so that we wouldn't become spiritual, so that our energy would not make it up here. See, when you're having unskillful sex, that's not spiritual. Just because you say, well, I be having sex with you, I have sex all the time, so that means I'm spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Like I got about 3-4 different women I be having sex with, or you got the females out there. Oh yeah, I have sex every day. I know I'm spiritual. I'm definitely spiritual. But are you having proper sex? See, I'm not saying just because you're out here getting it in that you're spiritual. It's a certain way that you have sex, and it's based on your breath, the breathing techniques, and it's based on learning a cycle and learning a rhythm. So you can either have sex based upon the number 6, which means sex, or you can have sex based upon the number 8. And this is what they're not going to tell you. If you have sex based upon the number 8, you get the benefits of 6. Because having sex based upon the number 6 is lower level sex. This keeps you up under the navel. You never make it. Most people never even make it into the heart during sex. Never even make, especially men. Most men never make it to the heart. Women do. And the reason why women do, I'll point this out quickly, is because, remember, Eve never, even though she was up under the spell, and she had all these different religious programs and softwares may have been running on her, she was still in tune with her Kundalini. And it's just like that for a woman today. See, a woman during sex still is in tune with her emotional energy and her sexual energy and her Kundalini energy. Even though she may be religious, she still has foresight. She's still able to know if a man is cheating on her. She's still intuitive, which means she's still in tune with her Kundalini, whereas a male, men aren't in tune with their Kundalini during sex because we're not taught how to have sex. Women can't teach us because either they don't know, or if they do know, of course they don't want to teach you. And your father probably didn't teach you because he probably didn't know, and no woman taught him, and there was no mystery school there for us to really know. So men, we're at a disadvantage. And women are too, though, because don't get me wrong. I mean, even when you study the tantric practices, women went through sexual rituals, and they went through different rituals when it came to learning about sexuality and learning about their body. And believe it or not, women learned about sexuality from other women, to the point where a lot of times the other women would even do certain things to those women. And you might call this lesbianism or homosexuality and say I'm crazy or whatever, but this is historical proof, especially if you study the Kama Sutra, that a lot of the women would do certain things to younger women or whatever to teach them sexuality. So this is how a woman would learn from another woman. Whereas the males didn't have anybody teach them anything. Men learn how to hunt, fight, do all of that stuff. When it came time to have sex, we didn't have a clue. So this birthed whores, or what you would call whores, or women that went around sleeping with multiple men, but they didn't do it just because they wanted to get a nut off. They were doing it because they were teaching and initiating these males. See, women initiated, this is going into sexual initiation, and women initiated the males into sexuality, especially in the mystery schools. Those males that could, of course, were high up enough to experience this, because most males were lower level, they weren't kings. These were for like kings and visors and basically just potentates and basically really prominent people. You know what I'm saying? So they would teach them. The women would come around and, they would sleep with different men. They would go around and sleep with different kings. And this is where the concept of a whore came from. You know what I'm saying? But it was a ritual. She was teaching the man sexual, taking him into the next level. She was teaching him sexual ritual. And sexual ritual is having sex based upon the number 8. And the number 8 is key. 2 reasons why the number 8 is key. It's key for one reason because there were 8 original cells in your body when you were first conceived. When you were first conceived, let me explain the process to you. You went through a series of different stages. When you were first conceived, you started out as like a human zygote. Right here, human zygote. And if you notice, this zygote is a circle with a circle in the center. So you see the circle with the circle in the center. This is how you started out in the very beginning. And if you notice, the same circle with a circle in the center is the symbol that we use on the 36 signs natal chart when we do natal charts. This is the symbol for the sun in astrology. The circle with the black dot in the center. See, most people don't realize that you started out as a sun. When the sperm hit the egg, it created an orb of energy, or this circle. This circle around here is an orb of energy. The circle in the center is the sperm and the ovum. So the circle on the outside is the orb of energy that's created, or the light that's created in the very beginning when you were conceived. An explosion took place, and that created you. This is the second level of it. This is when you became a clot. This is the third level of it. This is when you split into two, and a tube was put down the middle of your very being. Now, you still have this tube to this day, and this tube is very important. I'm going to stop here for a second and then go back into sexuality. You still have this tube in the very center of your being, and this tube is the key thing that you want to envision when you're having sex, because this tube links to all of your chakras, and it's the central part and core of your being. And this tube goes through, which is the most important thing, it goes through those 8 original cells that I'm about to talk about. You see, before I talk about the tube, I want to go ahead and talk about the 8 cells. You see, you eventually ended up being 8 cells. Eventually. And this is basically the 0 point of your being. These 8 cells. This is the core of your being. This is the same circle that was created from that orb of energy, but now it's cells. It becomes cells. It starts off as a clot, and it splits, and it keeps splitting until it splits into 8 different parts. And the reason why this number 8 is important is because this is at the very core of your being. This is the hidden aspect of your being, or the hidden aspect of your sexual nature. When you start talking about you want to activate the Merkaba, you can't do it unless you tap into these 8 cells that are located in the center of your body. And these 8 cells are so key because of the fact that your body creates new cells all the time. You get a new body every 3 years. But these 8 cells remain at the very core of your being, and they never change. These are the same 8 cells that were there when you were first created. Same 8 cells. So this is key when you start talking about the number 8. The ancient Egyptians, they taught this in the mystery schools. They knew about these 8 cells. They called them the Ogdos. See, life started up underwater. Before there was an Ennead system, and you start dealing with the concept of light, and you know the order of light. You start dealing with that. Before there was an order of light, there was an order up underwater, and it was called the Ogdo system. And this is what the ancient Egyptians are talking about. The Ogdos are 8 deities, and most people don't even know what these 8 deities are talking about. They're 8 deities that represent those 8 cells that are located in the center of your body. These 8 deities are Nu, Nunet, Hay, and Hayhet, Kek, and Keket, Amun, and Amunet. So it's Nu, Hay, Kek, Amun. Those are the 4 deities, and they have 4 feminine counterparts. Amun represents the hidden aspect. This is the hidden aspect of your nature. Kek represents the raiser up of light. This represents when the Kundalini rises. When you get into Hay, this represents the infinite. This represents the infinite. This is when the Kundalini rises and it hits your pineal gland. You get infinite knowledge and wisdom. And then when you understand Nu, Nu represents the abyss where your sexual energy started, which is located at the base of your spine. This is the very primitive aspect of the sexual energy. And the goal is to get that sexual energy to raise up, based upon these 8 principles: the raiser of light, Kek, Hay, the infinite, Nu, the abyss, Amun, the hidden. So you want to get into this doctrine and get this energy to raise up. And you want to get it to raise up through this tube and travel through all of the core of your being, and you want to get it to penetrate your third eye, your pineal gland, and you want to cause an explosion to happen, or a halo to form around your head. And the only way to do this for a male is to learn how to control your semen, to learn about the perineum gland, to learn that anytime you have a perineum gland, and the perineum gland is located in between the phallus and the scrotum. And anytime you push on the perineum gland for a male, it causes that energy to raise up quicker, that Kundalini energy, especially during sex, mainly during sex. So it causes that Kundalini energy to raise up quicker. It causes that orgasm to come a lot quicker, and it causes that euphoria and that energy and that explosion that I'm talking about that happens up here to happen a lot quicker, because that perineum gland is the gland that links. It's a hole, actually, believe it or not. And it's the actual hole that leads to these 8 cells that I'm telling you about. The secret number 8. It's the only way to get to those 8 cells is to push up during and to make that energy go up. during the sexual experience. This is how you get your Kundalini energy to shoot out your head. It's through pushing on that perineum gland. And a female has one too. But the thing with a female is that, like I've always pointed out, is that most females, even if they don't have an orgasm, like a hard orgasm, or if they don't like squirt or something like that, and the fluid doesn't come out, their Kundalini always usually rises up during sex. Believe it or not, this is when you start to feel the vibrations. Like when a female feels a vibration, this is your Kundalini rising up. So a lot of females, they get this experience usually. Males don't usually ever get a Kundalini experience during sex unless he knows how to. So this particular information, as far as you want to have sex on the number 8, now the woman can benefit from it, like once the male gets into that state, because he's going to start to emit this energy now. So like once a male gets past the nut now, you know what I'm saying, he's past, you know, like busting a nut within 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. So now he's in the rhythm, you know, he's in the flow or whatever. So now you're in the flow. A female is going to benefit from this. And she's going to become more spiritual as well and become more heightened. Her senses are going to become more heightened and stuff like that as well. But it's all based on the male. See, the male ends the party. Like if the male can't stay in that rhythm, if the male can't stay in that flow, then the female is not going to benefit. So really, to get into sex, you have to understand the higher mind and the higher aspect of the mind, and being able to program the mind so that you can be able to last long and be able to achieve the sexual experience that I'm talking about and get on having sex on the number 8. Now, some men like want to know, like, well, how can I have sex without busting a nut, or, you know what I'm saying, like, how can I basically last long? How can I stay long? You want to do it during times, find the moon phase that's best for you. There's 8 different moon phases. And what you want to do is that you want to find the moon phase that's best for you to have sex up under. Now, this is based on your natal chart. You also want to have sex during times where planets are making good connections with your sexual houses in your natal chart. So you want to basically get into the rhythm of first finding the moon phase, because there's 8 different moon phases. So you want to pick the moon phase that's best for you and your partner, and you want to start practicing this ritual and this technique during that particular moon phase. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do is that you want to wait until the sun is either making a good aspect with your 5th house, or it's either in your 5th house or your 8th house. If it's making a negative aspect with your 5th or 8th house, this is just not really a good time for you to be having sex. It's not really a good time for you to try to perform this ritual. So what I'm trying to get people to see, is trying to get, especially the males to see, is that you have to get into more of a rhythm. If you want to really get onto this 8, and having sex, you know what I'm saying, on this 8 octave or whatever, and you want to be able to experience, like a lot of people are like, well, how come I can't experience my Kundalini raising, or how come I don't see astral lights, and how come I can't read people's auras and stuff like that? It's because you're not spiritual, because you're not having proper sex. That's what it comes down to. Like, I mean, I know it sounds wild, but they suppress sex so much in this society. They didn't even teach us that it was tied in spirituality. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. If you're not having proper sex, you're just not spiritual. If you're not experiencing, even for a female, if you're not experiencing proper sex, you're not really tapping into spirituality the way you could. See, this is why a soulmate relationship is so important. This is why a twin flame relationship is so important, because you need to find your partner that you match up with sexually. First, like, I mean, okay, first you look at the natal chart, you know, and you do your reading, you make sure you guys are compatible and stuff like that. And then the second thing you should be looking at, really, honestly, is sex. Sex is a form of communication. It's a form of spirituality. It's all tied into your breath. It's the way that people bond and connect. If the sex life is not good between 2 partners, then the whole relationship is going to go downhill. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. So, see, they don't teach you that in religion. They say, well, just try to make it work. Just because, you know, the sex isn't good doesn't mean you have to break up. That's bull crap. That's bullshit. The only time you have to really make it work is if you have children involved. Now, if you have children involved and, you know, the sex went downhill, that's different. I don't suggest people break up if they have children involved. You know what I'm saying? But if it's to the point you're just not compatible with this person sexually, what are you waiting on? I mean, seriously, like, you need to either find someone that you're compatible with, or just stop having sex, because it's really like wasting semen. It's wasting a lot of energy when you have improper sex. And that's all I'm trying to really point out here. You have to know what the penis is used for. Like, the penis, you know what I'm saying, is a magic wand. That's what it is. Like, the vagina functions differently from the penis. You know what I'm saying? The vagina is more superior to the penis, because the vagina has multiple functions. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the penis is a magic wand. That's what it was designed for. So you see women design the penis. They're not going to teach you that. Women scientists designed the penis. They were females. That's why the penis perfectly fits. It's made for the vagina. The vagina is not made for the penis. penis is made for the vagina, because the penis can only do two things. You're using it for sex, or you're using it to go to the restroom. The vagina, you're using it for sex, to go to the restroom, and to have children through, to bring life. See, this is why the vagina is a portal and a gateway, you know what I'm saying, to bringing life to this planet. Whereas I'm not saying that the penis is not important, but it's not a portal. It's not a portal. It's not a black hole. It's not two black holes connected to the penis. The penis needs the vagina to create life. The penis cannot do anything in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? So it needs the vagina to be able to produce life. So that's very important that you understand that. Life is created underwater, beloved. So this is why you want to make sure that these rituals won't work unless your woman is ready. You got to get her turned on, get her moist, say all the sweet things and all the nasty things to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to basically, you got to get her turned on and get her moist and get her wet, because at one point this earth was called Moya, and all life was created in water. And everything that, all the cycles that you went to get to this point, just like you came through a black hole, which was your mother's womb, to get to this point, that's how the earth was created. The earth came through a black hole to get to this point. The beings that brought life to the earth came through a black hole to get to this point. And they crashed down into what? The water. And life started in the water with the bacteria and the amoebae and the fungus, and then eventually the dolphins, and eventually as evolution started in the water. That's my point. So if you want to look at how we got here, you can follow the process of creation. Just like the master teacher, Dr. York, used to always say, you started out as a gray, then you ended up being a reptilian, then you became a human. So that proves to you that grays and reptilians and humans have some type of connection. They obviously have shared some type of DNA link. So I'm trying to get you to see that basically sexuality goes hand in hand with understanding creation, with understanding life, with understanding spirituality, with understanding metaphysics. You start talking about opening up the third eye. The third eye is key when it comes to communicating and sending out certain signals to the penis. The third eye, scientists have studied this, sends out signals to the penis or to the phallus or whatever, so that your body will begin to create certain hormones like testosterone, and so that your body will begin to your penis will begin to fill up with blood, so that you can partake in the sexual experience. So having an open third eye is going to increase the sexual experience. Being psychic and being aware and being intuitive, knowing a woman's body, is going to help her with the sexual experience. So your third eye links directly to the penis. Scientists have proved this. Directly to the penis, especially through the tube. See, all this stuff goes hand in hand. The tube that runs from your third eye all the way down to your penis, it links it all together. So, and you have to know these things. You have to become stimulated on a mental level, you know what I'm saying, and on a sexual level, so that you can begin to please your partner, so that you can be in tune with your partner. A lot of people, they don't really, like a lot of men, they don't really think about the woman too much. Like when they get on top, they just think that the woman just wants them to bang out and go as hard as they can. I'm talking to like young guys. Of course, guys, you know, that are a little bit more mature know these things. But I'm saying like a lot of younger males weren't taught this stuff. So they're like a lot of teenage males, they just get taught about sex from just banging out, banging out, banging out, banging out. It's not a bang out, it's a rhythm. Everything in this universe happens from rhythm, tone, vibration, which is really rhythm. The law of vibration and the law of tone are very key here. And everything, like the woman, she likes to be vibrated. She wants to be banged out. She wants to be vibrated, and you can vibrate a woman based on rhythm. It's based on rhythm and a method. So learn all of these things, these different occult secrets. They will help to enhance your sexual life. They'll help to make the experience a lot better. You can conceive better children. It's another thing they don't teach us. You can use the astrology. Another occult technique, you can use the astrology in your natal charts and line them up and learn when is a good time to conceive a child. If you want to conceive a child that is a musician, you conceive them at a certain time of year. If you want to conceive a child that's a scientist, you conceive them at a certain time of year. And you might not know what time of year, but that's what the astrologers came into play at, or came into practice at. That's what astrologers do. They find the best time and season to do a thing. So you look it up, and it's based on your natal chart, it's based on the transiting planets, it's based on a lot of factors, but I'm just trying to get people to see sex from the number 8 instead of number 6. I'm trying to get people to see sex from a higher octave versus a lower octave. Not from the mundane, but from the spiritual. And to not only do that, but to get people to see how sexuality creates our reality. If you have a good sex life, it makes your reality a lot better. If you have a horrible sex life, it makes your reality a lot more evil. Be in tune with your partner. Make sure you're with the right person. Make sure you're with your twin flame or soulmate. Make sure you guys are compatible. That's the main thing or whatever, if you want to have the best sexual experiences here on this planet. So we do have sexual products on our website. 13 Signs Astrology is not religious. We do believe in sexuality. We don't, I don't knock anybody's sexual life. Whether you're, if you want to mess around with the same couple or whatever, same sex type of sexuality, that's on you. My whole thing is that to try to get people past perversion. See, that's my whole thing. Not against homosexuality, but perversion is what really takes away from our creation here on this planet too, and our sexual life here on this planet too, because most people have perverted ideas when it comes to sex, and they're in it strictly for pleasure, and a lot of times it's not pleasure, like it's not higher pleasure, it's like pleasure to please the lower sense of like pain and torture and things like that. And I understand that, we're humans and we have a physical side, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do certain things with your partner, that are a little bit, maybe a little bit animalistic or whatever. We are animals, so I do understand that, but at the same time, sex ultimately was supposed to raise the consciousness of humans. It was supposed to raise the awareness of humans. That's the original reason for it. When you have children, they're supposed to be better than you. So you're supposed to be creating children that are better than you. And when you have children out of lust and out of lower energy, you can't expect for this child to do anything but the same thing that it was born up under, which is barbarianism, lust, and just negative lower energy or whatever. If you want your child to be enlightened and be a genius, then you need to change the energy and change the scope. And that's all I'm saying here at 13signastrology.com is that basically, let's get out of the religion, let's become more sexually liberated, sexually motivated, and stimulated to change the planet through sex. Not just, use sex as a way to get away from our problems. Let's become creative with this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. Hope this video helped. A lot of people was asking me to do a video on sexual health, so I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or are in need of a sexual consultation or anything of that nature, visit my website. Until we meet again, I'll leave you in peace, love, namaste.